In my village, there is a story that everyone knows as the scariest story of the village. It's a personal experience of mine that nobody except my family has heard before. At that time, I was living in my village. Some of you may think that living in a village is peaceful, but the reality is that this village was very dark and scary. Nobody would come out at night, and everyone waited anxiously for the morning. One night, my brother, my friend, and I decided to go on an adventure and go to a forest on the outskirts of the village. We were looking for one of the village rumors that said one of the ghosts passes through this forest. After a few minutes of walking in the forest, we came across an abandoned house. It looked empty, but we were frightened by what was inside. What was inside was one of the demons that lived in this house. We ran away from the house in fear, but the demon followed us. He told us never to leave his house, or he would bring harm upon us. We returned to the house with fear and were trapped there until morning. From that day on, everyone avoided us, and nobody could talk to us. We were left alone in the village, living in fear of the demon. As time passed, the people of the village heard our story and recognized it as the scariest story of the village. After that night, I tried to interact with my thoughts about the demon and the spirits that were around the village. I never liked scary stories, but even though I was one of the witnesses of a terrifying experience, I still had no interest in these stories. But over time, I realized that having a scary experience can help you face the dark and scary realities of life. However, it should be noted that having a scary experience without examining and identifying its real cause may ultimately harm you. Overall, my experience in my village shows that nobody can say with certainty that ghosts and demons do not exist, but it should also be noted that many scary stories may only be uncertain rumors, and there may be no real reason for their existence. Over time, the story of the demon house in our village became one of the most popular stories in the village. Many people in the village would flee at the sight of the demon house, and other stories about ghosts and demons in the forest and old palaces of the village were also heard. These stories, mostly due to uncertain rumors and news, sought to have a terrifying and fascinating experience. But it always seemed that having a scary experience was better than hearing scary stories. For this reason, my friends and I set out to see the demon house. That day, we were looking for a flashlight to see inside the house. No one could know what would happen. But upon entering the house, we came face to face with something we would never forget. Inside the house, we encountered one of the other demons of the village. This demon seemed more savage than the other demons. He looked at us with red and terrifying eyes and threatened us by saying things more than what the demon house had told us. We ran out of the house in fear and went after others. But after a few minutes, we realized that the demon was following us and coming after us. We ran into the forest in fear and tried to escape from him, but he was always after us. Eventually, we reached a cave in the forest and took refuge there. The demon continued to follow us, but he didn't enter the cave because of the sunlight. We spent several hours there, and our fear and terror increased. At this time, we did not understand anything, and no one knew what had happened. But after a few hours, it became night, and we had to return home. On our way back home, we were looking for a guide to help us get home. But on this path, we encountered another demon of the village. This demon seemed a little calmer, but still threatening. With the help of several strong and brave individuals, we eventually returned home. However, our experience remained in our minds. This experience reminded us that nothing in the world is certain, and no one can say with certainty what will happen. In the end, we concluded that having a terrifying experience may be better than hearing scary stories, but everyone should decide for themselves whether they want a scary experience or not. After that terrifying incident, I was determined to find a way to confront my fear. This experience showed me that the most frightening thing a human can face is the fear of the unknown. So, to reduce my fear, I decided to travel to different countries and cities and become familiar with different cultures and languages. By traveling and exploring new places, I was able to prove to myself that I could confront the unknown and reduce my fear. These trips helped me become familiar with new situations and challenges that were previously unknown to me and gave me more confidence to face them. In addition, by participating in training courses, psychological exercises, and breathing exercises, I was able to help reduce my fear. These exercises helped me become more familiar with my fears, and by confronting them, I was able to reduce them. Furthermore, by reading books and resources on fear and courage, I was able to help reduce my fear. These books and resources included cognitive behavioral exercises, breathing techniques, mental exercises, and more, which helped reduce fear and increase self-confidence. Ultimately, I had to remind myself that fear is a natural human emotion and no one is exempt from experiencing it. However, it is important to turn fear into a challenge with courage and self-confidence and use it as motivation to achieve our goals. Over time, I was able to confront my fear and gain more self-confidence. This self-confidence helped me achieve my goals and continue my life without fear of the unknown hindering me. This experience showed me that by using different methods, we can help reduce our fear and enjoy life to the fullest. Therefore, if you are also facing fear of the unknown, I recommend becoming familiar with new situations, participating in training courses, psychological exercises, breathing exercises, and reading related books and resources to help reduce your fear. Remember that fear is a natural and accessible human emotion, and it is important to turn it into a challenge with courage and self-confidence and use it as motivation to achieve our goals.